The hospital room was completely silent. The machines that had been beeping constantly now stood still and quiet. The doctors had delivered the worst news possible. There was no more hope. Her heart had stopped beating. Her family gathered by her side, their soft cries filling the room as they prepared to say their final goodbyes. But then something truly unbelievable happened. A single sound pierced the silence, just one beep, and then another. Her heart, against all odds, started to beat again. Right there, before the astonished eyes of doctors, nurses, and her own family, life returned to a woman they had already accepted was gone. And for once, science had no explanation. As it is written in Psalm 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. What you are about to hear is a true story, a healing that medicine recorded, but only God could explain. Her name was Emma. She was just 34 years old, a woman full of joy, full of dreams, full of life. She found her greatest happiness in helping others, singing in her church choir, and spending precious moments with her little daughter. Then, one ordinary morning, her world turned upside down. She collapsed at home. Her family rushed her to the hospital in a panic. The doctors ran a battery of tests and then delivered words that felt like a clap of thunder. Emma had a rare and severe brain condition. It was aggressive and dangerous. Her body was shutting down, and the medical team admitted there was nothing more they could do. Machines were connected to her frail body, breathing for her. The room smelled of antiseptic and a quiet, heavy sorrow. Her mother sat by her bedside day and night, clutching her hand, refusing to let go. Her young daughter would lean in close and whisper, "Please wake up, Mama." Days bled into weeks. The doctors kept repeating the same grim words, "Prepare for the worst." But her family refused to stop praying. They held onto their faith like a lifeline. They read the Bible aloud beside her bed, their voices thick with emotion. They prayed with tears streaming down their faces, begging for a miracle. One night, when the room felt colder and darker than ever before, her heartbeat began to slow down. The monitor's beeps grew further and further apart until, finally, it fell silent. A flat line stretched across the screen. Through her tears, her mother whispered a verse from Psalm 34:19. "Many are the troubles of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them from them all." The room went completely quiet. Everyone believed it was the end. But then a small solitary sound broke the profound silence. Beep, and then another. Beep. Her heart was beating again. Nurses rushed into the room. The doctor stared at the monitor, his eyes wide with disbelief. Her pulse was strong. Her skin, which had been so pale and lifeless, began to regain its warmth and color. She was alive. The doctors were baffled. They couldn't understand it. They repeated the tests. They checked the machines for any malfunction. Everything was working correctly. Emma's heart had simply restarted on its own. One of the nurses started to cry softly. Emma's family fell to their knees, thanking God for the incredible miracle they had just witnessed. The impossible had just become real right before their very eyes. Over the next few days, Emma's body began to heal at a speed that astonished everyone. She started breathing on her own, no longer needing the ventilator. Her hands began to move, and then her eyes fluttered open. One morning, she whispered a single beautiful word, "Mom." The doctors watched in absolute shock. This was the woman who they had declared had no hope of recovery. Now she was not only awake, but speaking. One of them said quietly to a colleague, "I don't have an answer for this. We can only call it a miracle. As Jeremiah 30:17 says, 'For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord.'" Weeks turned into a month. With each passing day, Emma grew stronger. She had to learn to walk again, to talk again, to smile again. Every single step was a victory. Every breath was a precious reminder that she was alive. The medical team documented every detail of her recovery. Her new brain scans were clear. Her heart was strong. There was no sign of lasting damage. When they compared the results from before and after her cardiac arrest, it simply made no medical sense. One of the official reports concluded with two simple words: unexplained recovery. Her story spread quietly through the hospital corridors. Nurses who had cared for her during her darkest hours came to her room just to see her walk. Doctors who had given her no chance stood at her bedside, completely amazed. Emma would smile at them and say softly, "God healed me. I don't know how, but I know He did." Her mother cried, but this time they were tears of pure joy. Her daughter hugged her tightly, never wanting to let go. It was as if life itself had been given back to their family. They couldn't stop thanking God, praying every night in gratitude. They began sharing their testimony with others, not for fame or attention, but to give hope to those who felt hopeless, to remind them that miracles still happen. Emma later shared, "When I was lying there, I didn't feel scared. I felt a profound peace. I felt a warm light all around me, and I heard a voice say, 'Do not give up. It is not over.' I truly believe that voice was God." Even the most skeptical doctors had to admit they couldn't explain it. They had seen countless patients over their careers, but this was different. A healing so complete, so fast, so impossible. They wrote it down in their medical journals, but they couldn't define it with science. Emma finally returned home. She started going to church again, her voice ringing out with more passion than ever. She dedicated herself to helping others who had lost hope, her own life a living, breathing testament to the power of faith. She often said, "God didn't just heal my body, He healed my heart and my spirit." One day, standing before her church congregation, she shared her entire story. Her voice trembled with emotion, but her words were filled with an unshakable power. "I was dead, but God gave me life again. When science said no, God said yes, and I am living proof that miracles are real." The entire room was moved to tears. Some raised their hands in worship. Others knelt down, whispering prayers of their own. A wave of hope filled the room like sunlight breaking through dark storm clouds. Long after, medical experts reviewed Emma's case again. They confirmed every medical detail, every date, every test result. But still, they could find no scientific answer. And that is why this story remains one of the few medically documented healings that science itself recorded, but could not explain. As Psalm 107:20 reminds us, He sent His word and healed them, and delivered them from their destructions. So if you are listening to this today and you're facing something that feels impossible, remember Emma's story. Remember that even when life feels broken beyond repair, there is still hope. There is still unimaginable power in prayer. And there is still profound healing in the hands of God. When doctors say no, God can still say yes. When the world says it's impossible, heaven whispers that it's possible. And sometimes in the quietest hospital rooms, right before the eyes of science, God is still writing His miracles. This has been the healing that science documented, a story that reminds us that faith is stronger than fear, love is greater than pain, and with God, nothing is truly impossible. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories of hope and faith. We'll see you in the next video.